Today, I'm literally going to rank every major content platform you should be posting on as a business owner. Some of these will bring a ton of high intent leads and others will just be a simple waste of your time. I've generated multi-six figures across my clients and my own agency just using organic content. So I know firsthand what works and what doesn't. Based on what I've learned, I'm using a tier system to rank each platform based on the following. 1, how quickly can you get your first lead or sale? 2, what is the quality of leads? Do they have high buying intent? And 3, how much time do you need to dedicate per week? Right, so first off, we've got Instagram. Now, speed to getting your first client really depends on how much you post, okay? If you're starting from absolute zero, it's going to take a few months to start gaining traction. Unless you go really viral in maybe your first few posts, which most of the times won't happen. And especially if you're trying to target a high quality of leads, like maybe a market, maybe people doing 50 to 100K a month. You have a very sophisticated market. You're not going to get quick leads within the first month of Instagram, maybe in the second month. But if you're selling like a B2C offer where you're helping people start making money online, you can definitely sign your first client maybe in the first few weeks. If you post really good reels consistently, you post a bunch of Instagram stories, so you post maybe daily, and then you have once or twice a week where you'll CTA, so maybe you'll offer a book a call, something like that in your Instagram story. And if you give away a lot of lead magnets in your post, you have a ManyChat sequence set up, without a doubt, you could definitely start booking calls and signing clients within, say, the first month using Instagram. And then what you can also do to really accelerate things is, 1, have a setter on your team who will be DMing new followers, people that even like your post. Like if you have a post where a bunch of people like it, you can have your setter reach out to them, drop them a DM and try and book them into a call. And then you can also run follower ads, which a lot of our clients do and do perform really well. Put maybe a few $100, maybe even 1,000 in ad spend. Get a bunch of followers. Obviously you want them to be qualified, but then you can have your setter DM them. And there's no reason you can't book calls within the first month if you do that. With follower ads, and then you have consistent posting and you post Instagram stories. You can get a first call in the first month for B2C and a B2B offer. B2B offer will be a bit harder with just organic because the pool of people that you could work with is a lot smaller. So it's going to take longer to start reaching people who are qualified, testing what formats to work. But I would put Instagram, and in terms of growth, it just depends on how much input you're willing to put in and obviously produce quality. So in terms of that, I would say it's decently easy. There are a lot easier options on this list, but I would say Instagram is kind of mid-tier in terms of how easy it is. Long term, the only downside is that it is quite a treadmill. Like, if you're not posting for a week, you're not going to have many leads come through, because the thing with Instagram is very based on posts that are new and maybe posts that came out maybe in the past week, maybe the past month. The algorithm really tends to push out new posts and not like older posts. Whereas like other platforms like say YouTube, you can have a video that you posted 4 years ago and it's still getting views because it's ranking for search terms. So Instagram is a bit more of a treadmill and you do need to be consistent with your filming. So it is a bit more time consuming. So for that reason, I wouldn't put it as S tier. I'd put it at A tier because you need to spend a lot more time doing it, researching and just staying on the treadmill of posting. And then there's a lot of different variables. It's not like maybe YouTube where you just need to post a video, have a good funnel in place, do your research and make good videos. Instagram, you need good stories, you need a DM setter, you need to post consistent, you need to really understand the trends and what's going on. And you need to, potentially run follower ads as well, depending on your market. Then we've got LinkedIn. There's a few different routes you can go with. So LinkedIn, a big thing people do is send out manual connection requests, which you can send like 20 connection requests a day to your ICP and you can book calls very quickly with that. What you'll do is you'll have to connect with a bunch of people. They'll see your content and then you can either DM them, they can be nurtured by your content and book in a call from that, which automatically gets you leads. Even if your content isn't very good, you're going to get leads anyway by just sending manual connections and your follower base will grow. And from actual LinkedIn organic content, I've had posts go viral, 100, 200K views, which again, views isn't the metric you want to focus on, but they definitely book calls. So in terms of getting your first lead and sale, you can definitely do this within the first week to even month, depending on how much you want to post and how many connections you send. So you can definitely get your first lead with LinkedIn within the first month. And in terms of lead quality, I would say LinkedIn is a lot higher than Instagram. Reason being is because you can, let's say you send connection requests, you can put exact filters on the people you want to target. Did they just recently leave their job? Did they have they been working for a company for a certain amount of years? Are they in a certain industry? Do they live in a certain country? You can really get super granular with the people you send connection requests to. And then also with your content, the people on there either one, have a business, or two, have a job or are looking for a job. So they're not just doom scrolling on LinkedIn there for entertainment. People are on there purely for business. So they're a lot more open to hearing your pitch, hearing what you have to offer. They're a lot more open to buying and investing into certain things because they're on there purely to grow their career. No one sits there on LinkedIn in the bed at night time scrolling. No one does that for entertainment. You're on Instagram, TikTok, and so forth. So the intent of leads of them buying is a lot higher than, say, Instagram. And in terms of how much time you need to dedicate per week, I would say it's slightly less than Instagram because you don't really need to do stories. All you need to do is post maybe once or twice a day and then potentially have a DM setter in your account who's DMing your new followers and DMing the connection requests. So for this reason, I would say overall across the board, LinkedIn S tier. Again, I'm a tiny bit biased because we do book a ton of calls and generate, we've closed a ton of clients through LinkedIn for our agency. So I am a bit more biased. Now, we've got Facebook. Facebook, how quickly can you get your first leads? I would say it's similar to Instagram. Again, depends on how much you post and your frequency. But the only problem is Facebook, not many people really use it nowadays, especially if you're targeting an audience which is maybe, in their 20s to 30s. I don't know many people that use Facebook consistently. If you're going to target mothers and people who maybe want to get into yoga, maybe you have like a yoga coaching program, for example, targeting, moms, 30, 40, 50, I would say Facebook would be really good. So you could get leads quickly if you post enough. But in terms of buying intent, the people on there aren't as sophisticated, I would say, compared to Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube. So I would say buying intent would be a bit lower because, it's more so mothers and people who aren't, it's kind of more B2C. So it's a lot of tire kickers and people who maybe are just looking for free advice and it's not super high intent. And again, it's, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, they're a bit more closed off into buying. They're a bit more skeptical. They're not like, boom, let's invest, let's start doing this. So, and then also, in terms of time commitment, I would say it's similar to Instagram and LinkedIn. But again, buying intent is a bit lower. And then, not many people use the platform. So there's a bit of, limitations to the sort of people you can target. So I would put this at maybe a C tier. Again, I wouldn't focus on Facebook much. Good thing with Instagram, if you post on Instagram, there's a feature where you can literally automatically repost onto Facebook. So you can do that. I wouldn't really focus on Facebook as a main driver. Again, biased, this is based on what's worked for me and my clients. We don't have a single client who prints with Facebook, or I don't even know anyone who gets a ton of leads with Facebook. They mainly focus on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Then we've got Twitter. Twitter, in terms of how you can get your first lead, I know a ton of agencies and a ton of course sellers who print with Twitter. Personally, I haven't found the best success with this, so I'm going to be a tiny bit biased. But I could definitely say if you actually are consistent with it, you post good content, I do think Twitter can get you sales quickly. But personally, I've never got a single lead through Twitter, and it is a bit more tedious than the other platforms. You do need to post a lot more volume. It's not like LinkedIn or Instagram where you can get away with maybe one post a day. Most people I know who are crushing on Twitter, they're doing like 4, 5, 6, 7 posts per day. So the volume is going to be a lot higher. So for that reason, the time it needs to take for you to get leads is going to be a lot slower than any other platform. You need to spend way more time, I've personally found, than any other platform and what I've seen work with our clients. And in buying intent, there's a big mix. It's very similar to Instagram. You've got a lot of people who are very, very successful, and you've got a lot of people who are just brokies and are not really serious about investing. So I would say in terms of buying intent, I'd put it more so, mid-level, bit lower than Instagram, bit higher than Facebook, because Facebook, there's just old people on there. There's not many younger people, so not any new money. So for that reason, and also to consider the fact that it's going to be very time consuming, okay? You need to post a few posts a day to really start driving a lot of traffic. For that reason, I put out B tier. I think it's good, and I think you can absolutely crush it, but you need to put in a lot of effort when you compare it to LinkedIn, Instagram, and some of the other platforms, okay? Then we've got podcasts, so Spotify. Personally, what we found, we've had a client who's scaled his info product with a podcast. In terms of getting your first sale, it's going to take a while. If you don't have existing traffic from another platform and you just start a podcast off of a bat, you're posting on YouTube, maybe you're posting a few clips on other platforms, you're going to need to put in a lot more effort than the other channels. Because the issue with podcasts is people are just watching you kind of more so for entertainment. They're not clicking on your podcast to solve an exact problem. Because think of it like this. If you're going on YouTube, which is the best platform for podcasts, in terms of sales, okay? You can post on Spotify. Who really listens to a podcast? You're going to build more trust if they're watching you speak, because that's just naturally, they're spending more time with you as opposed to just listening to you in the ear. If you post on YouTube, the thing with, in terms of getting leads quickly, a big lever you can pull with YouTube is ranking for search terms, okay? If someone searches up how to get more leads for their offer, what are they more likely to click on? The YouTube video that's 10 minutes long, or like a random podcast that's 2 hours long with two random guys they've never met, and it's kind of just random topics in the mix of it. You know, for that reason, the podcast is going to take a lot longer to get leads. Now, a good strategy I've seen a lot of people I know use is they'll go to their dream clients and they'll get them to book a call with them for the podcast. And then they'll obviously have the podcast, but they've built that connection so they can then pitch to them, which is a kind of indirect way of getting leads and sales through a podcast. But in terms of purely booking calls directly off of it, you know, I know friends who have been doing podcasts, and the only way they actually book calls with podcasts is through the people they ask to get on the podcast and not the actual videos itself. So for that reason, I would say, and then quality of leads is kind of average. Like you can have really high intent leads by just selecting the people you want to book on, like you want to book on your dream clients. Yeah, that's going to be great. But in terms of actual quality of leads, you're going to need loads of traffic. So I would say it's kind of mid-tier. And time commitment, you need to spend at least 1 to 2 hours per week, because 1, you need to prepare for a podcast. So come up with the topics. 2, you need to find the actual guests, reach out to them, have a conversation with them, have them book in a call, have a chat about the podcast. And then, so you do like a pre-call, because you're not going to just jump on a podcast with an absolute stranger. It's going to be awkward. Like you don't want to document your first conversation with someone you've never met before. All the best podcast people in the space, they'll spend a day or two with the people before they actually film it, because they're going to build rapport. It's going to be more natural. Whereas if you're just booking in a call and you've never met them before, it's going to be a weird vibe. Okay. So you need to spend a lot of time doing all of those things just to get the podcast in. And then don't forget, you need to obviously produce it. For that reason, I would put it D tier. Okay. So it will get you a ton of leads from the people you book calls with. But in terms of generating actual inbound leads from a podcast, it's going to be low on the tier. Like if you have loads of traffic, yeah, you can book in a ton of calls. But again, it's hard to get loads of traffic and it's going to take you a while to build that up. Then we've got email newsletters. Email newsletters, I would say, absolutely killing. We've got a ton of clients who have a lot of traffic from paid traffic and organic traffic who absolutely crush with email. The only problem is to get your first sale, it really depends on how much traffic you have from the other platforms to actually get the people on your newsletter. So the answer kind of depends. If you've got a huge newsletter, like you've got a list from people that opted into your ads, then you can get the first sale in the first few days. But if you're building it from scratch and you don't really have a huge audience, then it's going to take 5, 6, 7 months to actually start bringing sales from it consistently. And then also you've got the intent of leads. Intent of leads is going to be super, super high because they're already opted in for a lead magnet or maybe booked in a call. So the intent of buying is super, super high. You may have a few people who are just on there for free advice, but there'll be a small percentage of the market. And then in terms of time commitment, you can batch out like a few months worth of emails in maybe a day or two. And then it's very easy to hire a good copywriter to write for you. You don't need to film. All you need to do is have really good details, really good market research on your ICP offer and what really makes people buy. And you just need someone to write the emails out. So for that reason, I would put it S tier. Actually, I would put A tier because it kind of depends if you have an audience or not, and it will take quite a while to start selling. Okay. We didn't actually rank the podcast, but we need to put that on a D. And then we've got threads. I've literally seen no one actually print with threads. Like I have 0 clients who use it in their strategy. Yes, a lot of them will just repost things, but I've never known anyone to get a single lead through threads. So I would say in terms of getting your first sale, I don't even know. Like it would take a few months if you really are committed to it, but not many people use the platform. Who uses threads consistently, okay? Then in terms of buying intent, again, kind of average, no one really uses it. And then in terms of how much time you need to commit, you can just repost stuff. So I'll put maybe on a C tier because actually D tier, like the only benefit to it is you just need to repost things from Instagram, but everything else kind of sucks. Then we've got TikTok. TikTok, in terms of getting your first sale, similar to Instagram, so you can get your first sale within the first few weeks, first month, because again, you can go viral, you can get loads of traffic straight away, which again, you don't want to focus on traffic, but it's going to help you get sales in the short term. In terms of buying intent, here is where it's not as good as Instagram. You get a lot of younger people on there, a lot of people who are just scrolling, they're not really serious. And it's hard to nurture. Like, no one watches TikTok stories. No one sees their TikTok DMs. Like, who talks to people on TikTok? No one. Okay. Instagram, people have chats, all that sort of stuff. So buying intent is a bit lower than Instagram. And I'd say it's more so near like Facebook. And then time commitment. Some people do repost their Instagram content onto TikTok, but most people need to create brand new content for TikTok to actually perform. So I would say either B tier or C tier. Now, for a reason that a lot of doom scrollers, and it's kind of harder to convert. Like, the only way you'll get people to buy is clicking the link in the description, going to your other platforms. For that reason, I'm going to put it at C tier. Could even be D tier, but I know you can get a ton of traffic, and it is a big platform. We didn't do YouTube. Somehow it went on the D list somehow, but we need to do YouTube. So in terms of getting your first lead, I would say if you have an audience already, you can get your first lead within the first few days, because all you need to do, post a banger video and then repost that on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you do have a lot of traffic. And then you can send it out to leads who are in your pipeline, re-nurture them, and you can get the first lead within the first few days. But if you're just going to post organically, you have zero traffic elsewhere, I would say 1 to 3 months. You can go down the SEO traffic route, which we've had videos, clients post the first video and they've booked calls like that, but it won't always happen. And then quality of leads, I would say it's the highest out of everyone, for the reason that if you rank for keywords on YouTube, people are coming up with high intent. So they're searching up for keywords of problems they need to solve, which automatically makes them high intent. If they're searching, how can I book more sales calls? They've got a problem and they're looking for someone that can solve it, that they want to buy from. So for that reason, high intent, super, super high. And then you're going to nurture people super, super well with your videos, because if they're spending 10, 20, 30 minutes like this video with me or with whoever it is, with you, they're going to build loads of trust, and they're going to be 10 times more likely to buy than Instagram or LinkedIn, where they're just reading a few posts or watching a few 60-second reels. Buying intent is super, super high. And in terms of time commitment, and if it's a good long-term play, this is the best out of every single platform. Like, you can post a YouTube video 1 year ago and it's still going to book calls, get views 5 months later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later. So in terms of time investment, even if you took time away for like a month or two and you didn't post, you would still get views and you would still book calls. For that reason, this needs to be S tier. So I'm actually going to lower LinkedIn to A tier, purely because nothing can beat YouTube. Again, I'm biased. I want you to buy YouTube and work with me. But again, for those reasons, YouTube is purely the best out of every single one of these. Right, so now you know exactly which platforms are worth your time and know which ones are, a complete waste of time. You're going to clearly look at this list and say, okay, YouTube is clearly the no-brainer. I need to get started on that, or double down on it. And the thing is, you say that today, but then tomorrow you're just going to go back to doing what you usually do, because you understand there's a huge learning curve with YouTube. It takes ages to get started and you don't really know how to start. Well, you're in luck, because I've just filmed a complete YouTube guide on how you can start and scale your YouTube channel in 2026, so you can get to a point where you're booking 5, 10, 20, even 30, even up to 100 sales calls per month. If you want to watch that video, go to the first link in the description, go and click on it. It's going to be pinned in the comments as well, or you can literally just click here and watch a video. And I'll see you on the other side.